Soul Garden.
Good morning from my smartphone to yours. I'm Lovecasting live from the Serious Toy Garden Studios in Costa Mesa, California. And it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Good day and namaste, and welcome to Namaste today. My name is Christopher Oteki. I am a psychic astrologer, and I call myself the Sensei to Serious Joy. That's because I feel my job is to stand in my heart and help people into theirs. This webisode is for Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Friday, October 23rd, 2015. And today, the human walk has progressed to step 0, Scorpio. That's right. So we're in a new chapter of consciousness, and we're going to see a lot of changes, just like you saw the light change just now. I'm actually taping this morning with my studio guard dog, Bella. We're here in the morning sun. A lot of times I actually tape in the afternoon at sunset, but I have managed to turn my life around, boys and girls, in the sun in Libra, and I'm finally taping in the mornings. Woot, woot, all right? So that said, you're going to see a lot of changes. I think we're all going to see a lot of changes. Because where you draw the line determines what shape something is. Where you draw the line determines when something starts and ends. All right? And really, because spirituality is really about our emotion, I mean, we really play this whole game by emotion. Really, it's where you draw the line with your emotions. Because that's where humans have the hardest time, is drawing their lines with emotions. So, the step 0 state of awareness, known as Scorpio, is the ability to draw a line or not draw a line. And if you close your eyes, every human being can feel where the door is. You can feel where the line is. You can feel yourself exposed. You can feel yourself not exposed. All right? You can feel someone touch you. You can feel someone affect you. This ability to feel or not feel these vibrations all comes down to step 0, or your ability to draw a boundary. Now, believe it or not, because we're in the soup of consciousness, a boundary is just a decision in the mind. For the most part. A lot of people try to put up force fields and lock the door. And you know what? We live in creation. If you just say, I don't want this in my life, it begins to happen already, right away. And a lot of my clients simply fail to say that in their mind, like, no, that's not cool. And then, of course, enforce it. That would be a second step to that step 0. So step 0 Scorpio is intense. We just spent 2.5 years with Saturn in Scorpio. So this is going to be an interesting transit, in my opinion, because this is the first time the human race, which I call the human walk, if you haven't figured that out yet, this is the first time we have been back to Scorpio with the sun since Saturn left. So this is the first time people's boundaries are in play. And the thing about people's boundaries is it's all about how you feel. So I think we're up for a lot of surprises because I think a lot of people made decisions back when Saturn was in Scorpio, particularly a couple of months ago when it wrapped up, and they didn't necessarily enforce these decisions. They didn't necessarily tell anyone about it. And so I think you're going to find, very much like the Benghazi trials going on with Hillary Clinton in the last 24 hours, you're going to see a lot of things come out. A lot of secrets come out in the next 30 days. A lot of information come out. A lot of, quote, transparency. And that's because the Scorpio consciousness is actually what rules what is seen and what is not seen. What opens and what closes. That is all Scorpio consciousness. And, you know, Scorpio gets the headlines for sex, and that's true because that's when things open and things close. And open and close and open and close, right? You know what I mean? Like, so that's definitely Scorpio. The line of life and death is the biggest opening and closing there is. So that's also ruled as Scorpio. And then the highest vibration, alchemy, the ability to transform ourselves into something greater, is also under the architecture of Scorpio. So Scorpio is a big deal. Now, I'm going to have a couple of themes. For one, for the whole month, I'm going to be fun this month. I'm super excited. Since it's Scorpio, I'm going to make the month's theme psychic gossip. So I'm going to be releasing a lot of psychic gossip this month, both here on YouTube, and also when I launch my new service, I'll put some psychic gossip in there too. And what I mean by psychic gossip is, by working with lots of psychics through the years, we've all started to talk about what we pick up on, and there's some psychic gossip. There's some gossip that I want to kind of release about what people say things are. These are things like the story of Adam and Eve. I've got some interesting gossip on that. I got some interesting gossip on Jesus Christ. Hallelujah. I got some interesting gossip on a lot of dead people, and I'm curious what y'all have to say about it, because it's all psychic gossip anyways, and you'll either attune to it or not attune to it. So it's gonna be a psychic gossip month. But today's topic is something I sincerely believe in, and it is The Force Awakens. Now, I mean this in both ways, my friends, both in the sense that, yes, Star Wars is back here in the theaters coming this Christmas, and I think this is a good fever to have, and I'll talk about that. But I also am meaning this in a double entendre here, in the sense that the Force is awakening with the sun in Scorpio. I believe many, many, many people have been practicing their magic for a long time, and the sun in Scorpio combined with Saturn in Sagittarius, all right, which is a new story, a new chapter of the human walk, or we can call it race too if you want, right? But a new chapter is beginning. Sagittarius is the storytelling. Sagittarius is the collective consciousness. And so I really think that this is the first time that if you're a Jedi on Earth, if you're a young light walker or you're a young skywalker, okay, whichever you walk, either way, I believe your force is awakening right now. This has to do with the Mayan shift that happened in 2012. I mean, literally the ceiling is being lifted. And we could go into a lot of detail, and I will this month, about where I see the ceiling has lifted, where I see my own psychic awareness has expanded, where I see my clients has expanded. I see psychic awareness and everything expanding. I see the Force awakening. But for myself, I think it's the Force of love. I've always said it's the Force of love, and I don't know, I've never talked to Mr. Lucas yet, but I'm imagining that it's the Force of love when we talk about the Force. So it is my opinion that the Force of love is finally awakening, and at no too soon a time. I think that the Earth is at a critical decision, and I think what you're going to find in the next 30 days are people choosing sides. I do think we're going to be up against a big choice between an A path and a B path. And I think people can label that A and B path good and evil, and they can label it Republican and Democrat, and they can label it up and down, and they can label it matriarchy and patriarchy. But the truth is, we have been dividing for a long time. It's coming to a head. We were all born for this moment, and I think the Force is awakening. So I think it's no accident that the Lucas trilogy, sixology, whatever, nineology, what the hell you call that, I'm like, of course, we have the Force really awakened for the first time, in the 70s, where we started to think about having powers, and then of course we get another rendition of them. I'm not even sure when the next ones came out. I'm not that big of a Force nut, but I do know that Lucas has been contributing to the collective conscious story this whole time. And so I think that the Force is awakening. So with the sun in Scorpio, with today being step 0 Scorpio, step 0 is the only step that's completely ruled by Scorpio. And I'll talk about that through the month. But this is a purebred Scorpio day, and it is a black and white day. My experience of step 0 days, Scorpios feel good finally, and they're so grateful. They finally have the light. I mean, they just suffer so much through Sun and Libra. So if you're a Scorpio, high five, you made it. If you're alive, you made it. That's how it works with Scorpio. Like, did you die? Well, then you're fine. That's basically it, like with Scorpio. So if you're alive, you made it, and it's birthday time, it's charging up time, and for everyone, it's time to figure out where we draw lines, all right? And we'll be talking about where to draw lines and the philosophy of drawing lines, and we'll be talking about psychic gossip this month, because I want to throw some things on the table. I think there's a very interesting story that Earth has been dealing with for a long time, and whether it's true or not, even though my psychic guy says it is, the human walk, the human race is at a very fascinating moment right now. We are all born for this moment, and it is beginning. And I think it is beginning very, very quietly with the presidential race of the United States, just because the United States is the dominant currency on Earth, financial currency, and that's really what it is. But that said, what does that mean for you? Well, it means that it's going to be time to draw some boundaries, my friend. And these may be boundaries you've been waiting a long time to draw. These may be boundaries you know better at this point with Saturn having gone through Scorpio. I don't think anybody doesn't know where the boundaries are. You might have farted around still. You might have still done what you know you shouldn't have done. You might have still dabbled in the, quote, dark side, of the force. But everyone knows after Saturn and Scorpio, that's probably the most honest-to-God truth. No one gets away without the truth. You can pretend like you don't, but you do. And so this next 30 days, because it's the first time the sun's been to Scorpio since Saturn left, is going to be enforcement, enforcement, enforcement. So I predict, as the Sensei to Serious Joy, a lot of discomfort in the next 30 days. Of course, I'll talk about when and where, and that's mostly from people going, I've had enough, okay? And finally drawing the line. And I will be here cheering the whole way because we all know in most cases it was overdue. So for today's 5 o'clock question, I want to ask you something to think about through the weekend, and that is, what would you never do in life? Tell me something you would never do. I would never do this. And I want to know the never, 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 never. Now, it may be so, horrible that you may not even want to write it down or tell me. That's okay. You don't have to tell me. But you do have to take note of what you have such a never boundary about. Very important. The next follow-up, okay, is where do you feel vulnerable in life? Where do you feel vulnerable in life? All right? And I'm actually not going to answer these questions. I'm going to exercise the right to step 0, the right to remain silent. I'm not going to tell you what I'm never going to do, and I'm not going to tell you where I feel vulnerable. But I'm going to guide you through this whole time anyways, and I'll let you know when I'll be transparent and not. But I've always said it's not right to lie, but it's totally okay to tell a person none of your effing business. So that I learned from my favorite Scorpios and friends. So before we send you off on your weekend, my friend, that is my topic of the Force Awakens. I think everyone's Force is awakening. I think it happens from drawing your boundaries where they need to be. And I think this whole month is going to be interesting, of a lot of truth coming out. And yours truly will be talking a lot of psychic gossip. More to come on that. But before we send your way, let's go into my guides and see what they have to say about what's going on today. And let's just say this month too. That's interesting. Okay, so I'm getting pure information because I asked them what was going on for this month, and they didn't even talk planets. They're saying that this month, as I have said, basically what they say is that this month people will change philosophies. A lot of people will change philosophies. I think everyone will be kind of shocked, because really the truth is coming out. They're showing me Trump right now. Folks, Trump is ahead in the polls. This is how Americans think. It's not a media sensation. Media is following him. But this is how easy the media can be intertwined and twirled. Okay? This is how the truth of what's going on is being exposed. So they're telling me that this month people will change their opinions on things that they've held for a long time. And so this is a month of really preparing yourself emotionally for your own truths. Now today, Mercury's at step 14, and so that means people's minds are going to kind of start to switch gears right away today and through the weekend. And most people might have a meltdown Sunday night, by the way. So I just want to put it out there. The meltdown is just noticing where there was a boundary that was crossed or a boundary hazard. So the reason why it's a meltdown is because everyone always panics when the boundary is at risk. Okay, so try to keep yourself together. A lot of people have said to me, I don't know what to do with your information, Chris. Let me tell you, a lot of times when you know that something could go wrong, like you could have an emotional meltdown, 95% of my subscribers end up watching everyone else go through it, and they don't. So, tragedy is always by surprise. If you have a Wateki going, this could happen, then it doesn't. All right. But I'm telling you, the world's going to be super emotional Sunday to Monday because people who don't pay attention, who don't watch their emotions, they're not using the force of love. They are going to things are going to slip. And what it's revealing is, we got a boundary hazard there. We got a door that's unlocked there. We got something that needs to be put up there. So this weekend, people are shifting gears. They're all shifting gears for different reasons. Venus is at step 13 today. Mercury's at step 14. That means where we eat from and where we think completely are going to start to shift. And this weekend is going to feel the first weekend where we feel autumn coming. I got a lot of noise going on here with planes and stuff. Forgive. In fact, that's what it's about this weekend, forgiving. I'm actually saying that as I look at the moon in Pisces. So this weekend is really about forgiving and forgetting. Let me just say, that if you are done with it, be done with it. The first thing, the first order of business in Scorpio is throwing away the stuff you are over with. If you know you're over with something, in the business once and for all, get the low-hanging fruit harvested and out the door. And that means forgiving and forgetting. Now, I can't say enough. It's like a lot of people get held up in judgment when forgiving and forgiving. They don't want to let the person off. It's not about letting the person off. It's about letting you off. It's about letting you off from hanging on that stupid thing anymore because it's wasting your time. It's about being compassionate to your time, compassionate to your story on earth. Forgive them. Okay? Forgive them. And work on yourself. Let yourself be. Let it go. So there's a lot of letting go, and there should be a lot of letting go, and that's part of the shape changing. In fact, that's probably why people can change their opinions, is because they let go of old stuff. In fact, this weekend, the moon and today, will be opposing Mars. And so they're showing me there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of release. There'll be a lot of political stuff coming up this weekend, they're showing me. So there's a lot of people, and this is a lot of people just because we're in Scorpio, people are releasing steam, period, because they had been ignoring the valve. Scorpio is when you open the valve. So a lot of people just let out a lot of steam in this early from 0 to step 4 because they just haven't all year. They've held together. I would imagine we'll see Hillary Clinton blow her top any second. She's a 2-degree Scorpio. So she has been doing nothing but taking beatings. And I got to say, I don't know what side of the fence you're on. I've been, as you know, a Bernie fan. But I am pissed that people make it this hard for a woman to be running for president. I mean, I think we are being shitheads, particularly on the Republican side, just as far as the way they treat her with disrespect. As, we don't see Secretary Kerry. I know I'm going political, but my point is this is a boundary issue. You didn't see Secretary Kerry get blamed for stuff. And why isn't Obama blamed for the Benghazi episode? He was president. There's a lot of weird, shady stuff in my opinion, no matter what side of the fence you're on. And I think that all that's going to be released here in the next few days. The last thing is, the anger, the repressed anger. So there's going to be a period of letting go of repressed anger, and then there's going to be a period of letting in love and joy. And so this is kind of the weekend, the first 4 days of Scorpio. I'll be back, of course, for the Monday show, and I'm going to try to post it early so people have me. Oh my gosh, we're at 16 minutes, so I'm going to wrap this up. But you all have a great weekend. Yeah, no other advice. So just figure out what your emotions are and identify what we have to get rid of. Have a fantastic weekend, my friends. It's always a pleasure to serve. Come on down to soulgarden.tv. That's my mothership. You can register and be a part of my site. You'll see I have extra features coming out there, as well as a mailing list. And, of course, follow me on Twitter at stepº0. Have a great weekend. I'll see you when we are full in Scorpio. Until then, protect yourself and live, love, be.
So